The reason it's called temptation is because it's secret. So if for example, I was going to defraud the church, for example, that I worked in, the only person who knows about that is me. I haven't actually talked to anybody in the church about the fact that I might be defrauding them. So the great power of temptation is the fact that it's hidden away in my heart and in my mind, which is why it always catches people by surprise when they get caught doing something that they shouldn't be doing, because we know them well, or we thought we did, and then suddenly they've done X, Y, and Z, and we're all sort of taken aback. And it reminds us that temptation to sin, or the temptation to be something that we're not, is principally empowered by the fact that it sits in a dark space in our life that nobody knows about. So the key antidote to all temptation is light. So when you expose it to the light, you see it for what it is. So if I have a thought about doing something in the background of my mind, while it's playing around in my mind, it produces a series of emotions in me that might be helpful, that might make me feel good just thinking about it. Because once I've started the process thinking about it, I've moved further and further to a place of pushing my body into taking part in this action. But when you expose it to somebody else, which the Bible just says is confession, you move it from the dark place into the light. And as you actually see it and hear yourself talk about it to somebody, you see it for what it truly is. And emotions suddenly evaporate. It's no longer about what makes me feel good. I'm now actually seeing and hearing what I've been thinking in the light of day, and it changes its perspective. Which is why I think the Bible says that confession is not only good for the soul, it's actually the best of what it means to be in true community. So I remember when I went through my own crisis years ago, same deal, dissatisfied with life, I'd become filled with anxiety, I'd lost a sense of who I was, and for me I developed an addiction to spending. And the spending made me feel good, which is all part of the temptation process. But after I'd actually spent the money that often wasn't my own, so I'd made some false insurance claims to actually get the money to keep the addiction going, I always felt terrible. And it's this whole cycle of what temptation is. It says, if you do this, then you're going to feel amazing, you're going to feel fabulous, it's going to revolutionize your world. So then you convince yourself that it's the right thing to do, you go and do it, and then immediately there's another voice, which we call the voice of the accuser, who comes onto your shoulder and says to you, excuse the language, you bastard, how could you do that, and you call yourself a Christian. So the Bible tells us that the tempter is the one who tempts us to do what God has called us not to do, and the accuser is the one who accuses us of failing to do what we were supposed to do, when even though he's also the tempter at the same time. And in the backdrop of all this, you have God, who is our heavenly parent, saying to us, you are my child, I love you, you are forgiven. At what point will you return as the prodigal to the loving arms of God who's already waiting for you? And that's the problem with temptation, is it promises something that doesn't exist, and then it accuses us when we pass through it, and it keeps us in a cycle that we then call addiction.